Alright, what I'm talking about right now is for like quote unquote good people, like people who feel like they're good people. You do a lot of things for other people, and like virtuous people. And maybe you feel like you aren't repaid on it, or karma doesn't ever come your side. But the reason I'm saying this is, how virtuous are you really? You know, this may be why karma doesn't work for you. Um, because it depends on what you're doing the virtue from. I was the type of person before that I would do a good deed, but it wasn't about doing the good deed. It was the fact that how would I feel, or how would they look at me if I didn't do the deed? If someone asked me to do something or asked for something, it wasn't so much that I wanted to give. That was part of it, but I think more of it was a fear of reaction, fear of them looking at me a certain way, or a fear of the guilt I may have from saying no. So in the essence of that, like, you're doing it from a place of fear, a place of guilt, you know, all those things. So how virtuous are you really if it's coming from a negative place? So what I'm thinking is that, or what I'll say is that virtue only comes just the same as power only comes, and respect only comes when you have the power, when you have the choice. So I think virtue comes with a choice. When you have the power internally to say no, and you wouldn't feel wrongly about it all, at it, ooh, you wouldn't feel wrong about it at all, and then you choose to say yes to it. Because a lot of it is a fear, whether it's the fear of the guilt, um, a fear of how they'll look at you, a fear of saying no. I think virtue really comes, as I said before, when you have the full power. You won't feel any type of way about saying no, because you're comfortable with who you are, with the type of person you are. You know what your intentions are, so that then if you were to say no, you'd be able to sleep like a baby, and you choose to say yes. That's when the virtue comes. So you got to ask yourself, how virtuous are you really? How good of a person are you? Or if you're a slave to the goodness, if people know you're a good person, you tell yourself that you're a good person, right? So you feel like you have to live up to that identity all the time. You have to stay. You can't be a slave to that identity, because there's times where you need to put you first. There's times you really don't want to do it. So why would you do it if it doesn't feel right within you? If it's not something that really resonates with you, something you don't really want to do for them. There's always times where someone, there's times when you have to do it for someone you love, but there's times when someone asks for something, and you're only doing it because of really a perception, whether it's their perception, or the guilt that you feel. So at that point, you become a slave to the niceness, to the virtue that you have. So you're such a good person, and you don't want them to think that you're not nice, and that's not virtue at all. You know, that's not virtue at all. That's doing something from a negative place, and that won't ever turn out good for you. So you need to come to the point to where you're comfortable with saying no. You know, you feel no way at all about. You don't feel wrong at all for saying no. You don't feel any guilt. You don't really care if they look at you differently, because you're so at peace with yourself. And then that's when the virtue comes. That's when you start to get rewarded for the things. Because for one, you're not thinking about it. Also, that's another thing. If you're virtuous because you are expecting some return, that's not really virtue. My fault, y'all. My camera overheated. But as I was saying, the virtue comes in a choice. Goodness comes with a choice, as in the same way that power and respect is come with a choice. You get respect when you have the power. Like, the most respected men have the power to cause harm or whatever, make choice, whatever, and they choose to be kind. That's where the power and respect comes from. Real respect. So that's where real virtue comes in. Because if a slave is doing good things, how virtuous is he? Because he's doing what he's told to do or made to do by fear, or whatever manipulations that are making him a slave. So if you're a slave to the virtue, you're a slave to your perception of you. You're not really virtuous, as is a slave isn't virtuous for cooking someone food or doing whatever deeds he's doing, because he's not doing it because he cares about his master. He's not doing it because he cares about whoever he's serving. He's doing it because of the fear and whatever's keeping him as a slave. Whether it's fear, whatever it's he's getting beat, or whatever it is. So that's the same exact way that we can't be a slave to virtue. We can't be a slave to of people's perceptions of us. The real virtue. I keep on repeating this over and over again. It's the same with karma. You know what I'm saying? If because it's really about the intention, like the underlying things. You know, it's not as simple as we think it is sometimes. If I'm doing something because I'm scared of what someone's gonna think of me, if I'm scared of their reaction, I'm not gonna get good karma for that. You know, I'm not gonna get. I'm not even gonna feel that good about it. You know, because it wasn't true to me. But when I can be like, if someone asks me to do something, yo, can you send me some bread, dog? And I'm like, I don't really want to, but what if he, what if he thinks of me, and what if he doesn't want to be that cool with me, and what if he thinks I'm being fake and wooty wooty woo, not selling the bread because of that? It's not virtue at all. That's negative. That's coming from a negative place, from a fear. So you're not gonna get any good returns on that internally, or from the universe, or from God, or whatever. But if someone asks me for bread, and I can say no if I want to. I don't care what he thinks of me, but I'm like, yeah, you my dog. It's nothing. That's when things start to come back for you. So, to my virtuous good people out there, make sure y'all are aware. Next time someone asks you for something and you want to say no, whatever, make sure y'all are aware of the reasons you're doing these things for. Is it because you really love them, you feel good about it, or are you scared about how they're gonna feel about it, or are you gonna feel guilty? But yeah, let me know what y'all think, yo. I might use this as a thumbnail. Yeah. I don't want nobody else to ever love me. Dun, 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 I wanna see. I hit chest today, y'all. But let me know if y'all rock with that, bro. What y'all title it? The should it be the illusion of virtue? Should it say you're not as virtuous as you think? Let me know, bro. Um, it's ironic, right? Because y'all gonna see this after I title it.